I would think, as people who day trade or trade with crypto at a cyclic rate, like they are just in and out of crypto, or meme stocks or things like that, where the dopamine hit of winning or the potential winning is always just sitting there like, this time it's going to be different.
Welcome to the Fiscal Foxhole, the podcast proving you don't need a degree in finance, just some grit, a game plan, and maybe a sense of humor. Your hosts are retired Army veteran Rob Moore and retired Marine veteran Omen Quelvog. Together, they'll help you dodge financial landmines, call in the air support on your savings, and laugh at the ridiculous money mistakes we've all made. If you can survive mandatory fund days, you can survive personal finance. Welcome to the Foxhole.
Welcome to the Foxhole. I am your host, Omen Quelvog, and with me, as always, is my faithful co-host, Heartbreak Hedge, Rob Moore.
Heartbreak Hedge.
That's right.
This is the second one. Heartbreak.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the second one in a row that you're hosting that now I have to ask for further clarification.
Why? Why do you have... This is the show. Like, we're betting on the show.
Oh,
Heartbreak
gotcha.
Hedge. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited because I see here you've got on the docket for us today to talk about gambling and sports, which is great. We're going to break down all the lines for the upcoming Super Bowl. We're going to give you advice on how to win, on bets to take. We're going to break down all the lines. We're going to give you all the information on how to properly bet for the Super Bowl, right? That's what we're doing today, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's people pulling over right now, grabbing their notepads. All right, here we go. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, that is not what we're doing. We're going to have some fun with it, but which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, that is not what we're doing today. But I am excited to be a part of it. I'm here joining you from my igloo to your igloo. How are things faring down your neck of the woods with the weather?
It's pretty frozen over here. So we, a little surprising, like it snowed fairly consistently all day yesterday. And I noticed that the snow actually wasn't piling up. I thought, man, that's a little bit weird. And then I went out to shovel the driveway and realized that the reason why the snow hadn't actually been piling up was because it was compacting down it was just dense. And then last night it froze over. And I'm not sure what kind of experience that you had with Lucy, but we let our 70-pound pit bull go out to the bathroom this morning. He didn't leave a paw print. He was just running on top of the snow. And it wasn't even leaving a mark. I was like, wow, we're locked in.
Similar here, a lot of ice right on top of the snow. And yeah, she's doing okay, doing her business when she needs to go out. But definitely as a puppy, she's intrigued by all of it. So it's kind of fun. But yesterday I did run the boys around the neighborhood. I ran, I think 10 to 12 boys by the end of the day to and from sledding hills. I'm the only one, I guess, that was home available with a 4x4. I got stuck a couple of times. Like I had a truck. I had a truck full of kids. Now the cab full, I should clarify. I didn't have them in the bed of the truck. Not that country, but so they were in the bed, but I was driving a couple of the kids. I didn't even know they're my son's friends driving around to get to the hills. I don't know them. I don't know their parents. And then we got stuck a little bit. I'm like, oh God, I'm like, how do I contact these kids' parents? Like, this is how disaster stories begin. And meanwhile,
I was going to say, we're going to talk about liability coverage here, not gambling.
Exactly. And in order to take them back to their houses, I left 4 or 5 boys by the sledding hill. They were ready to go home, but I couldn't take them all. And so now there's it's 20 degrees and the sun isn't shining and these freezing rains coming down and there's 5 boys standing outside waiting for half an hour for a ride. But everyone survived. Thank goodness I got everyone home and my truck is safely in the driveway. But it's a little treacherous out there. But from the inside here, the view is pretty nice.
That's right. Well, hey, we aren't actually here to talk about snow or liability insurance. We're here to talk about gambling as we approach the Super Bowl. And that's what today's episode is all about, is gambling and just kind of the impact that we've seen the last few years of availability of gambling now in a very convenient, compact form in your pocket. So, Rob, I have to admit, as I was researching this, it caught me a little off guard. It actually made me a little bit emotional in not a great way, like anger, like pure anger about just kind of the way that we're all marketed to, and how much of a slippery slope this actually can be.
I have strong feelings about it as well. I'm sure we'll get into it, but yeah, it's changed a lot in the last few years. I myself, I didn't really ever gamble on games, but a few years ago, I have some stories here. I've participated in the in-game betting, which is available. We're going to talk about all of it later, but yeah, it evokes some strong emotions, especially when you think about how folks that are maybe less equipped to handle that type of responsibility or whatever, or maybe they hadn't thought it all the way through, are being afforded this in a very easy platform. So we're going to talk about that as we get in. But yeah, I'm with you. Some strong feelings.
Before we get into that, let's get into this week's headline. This week's headline is out of Yahoo Finance from the PR Newswire. The headline itself: Americans carry $1.21 trillion in credit card debt, with 73% tied to essentials and median interest rates at 25.3%. This is an interesting headline. When I first saw this come across the wire, I thought, man, those percentages, like 25.3% is an interest rate. Okay, like I get that. I mean, it's credit card debt. So credit cards usually do come with a higher interest rate. But 1.21 trillion in credit card debt, and 73% of it tied to essentials? That, I was kind of questioning that one. So here's what's in the story: that research by Academy Bank, whoever that is, reveals how persistent financial pressures are pushing households to rely more heavily on credit cards for everyday expenses, with the average user carrying a $5,595 balance. And Academy Bank basically compiled research from actual research companies, from the Fed Reserve, from Experian, from Bankrate, NerdWallet, Freddie Mac. So I guess my first question to you, Rob, is what do you think of the 73% of debt on mandatory spending?
Omen, my thoughts on this are not going to win me any friends or help me keep any, I'm afraid, because I don't have very friendly advice when it comes to this type of thing. Let me start with the idea that the credit card debt that people have is tied to this, let's say 73% of mandatory emergency spending. So probably like food, groceries, bills, et cetera. Not the discretionary spending of eating out or vacations or shopping. I don't have any doubt that that's true. And I say that because I think that's probably what people are reporting. They're saying, hey, our bills got expensive, and, inflation, yada, yada, and my rent or, the car payment, like, et cetera, I have to pay these things. So I have to use a credit card to pay them because I can't afford them anymore because everything's getting so expensive. Is that true? Probably. Is it fair? That's where I disagree probably a little bit. If you're ahead of the ball and you're budgeting, you're looking ahead, like I know how much I spend on my discretionary spending and mandatory spending, you can head this off before it becomes a problem. Because what I imagine probably happening when things are getting expensive is people are probably still doing the things that they care to do, or that they like to do, like eating out or shopping, etc., and using the money that they've got. Now, all of that has gotten more expensive, of course. Yes, it has. But then they do have these things they have to pay for: the mortgage, groceries, gas bill, whatever. Some of those have gotten more expensive, but some of them, like rent or other utilities, are probably similar. But they get to the end of the month or when they have to pay the bills, and money's already been eaten up by the things that they've wanted to do. So that offers this really convenient excuse, for lack of a better term, like, well, I have to pay this bill and everything's so expensive, so now I have to put it on the credit card. It almost offers this kind of permission to use the credit card in order to do that, because you're like, well, what else am I supposed to do? I have to pay this bill. But what you can do rather than have to do is look at the month ahead of time and know that those things are coming up and saying, well, I normally spend out $150 each month. I can still afford $150 each month, but maybe that's less trips eating out because eating out's gotten more expensive. So instead of the 6 times eating out, maybe it's only 5 or 4. And that kind of helps you stay within budget.
Yeah, your take probably isn't going to win you any friends. So I'm sorry about that. But okay. If we say that a little bit of a different way,
yeah,
I think that people maybe fail to reevaluate what their needs are when things get tough, right? Like we know that the economy has been a little bit tough on people's wallets these days. Like your income is not necessarily keeping up with the cost of living, but that's for both needs and discretionary things. And, even I mentioned on our last episode or a couple episodes ago that my wife and I just went through this exercise because it's been a while and we get in ruts. All of us, we all get in ruts of like, well, this is what our budget always looked like. So that's what we're just going to keep doing. Every once in a while, it's good to actually take a scrub and say, things are getting a little bit pricey and more things are headed for the credit card. Why is that? Why are we having to put things on the credit card? Well, suddenly our income just isn't going as far as we thought it was. And so, I know exactly what you mean when you say like we have to reevaluate this every once in a while. Number one, to determine what actually is a need. And I know that sounds harsh, but like legitimately, what is a need in your life? What keeps the lights on? What keeps the mortgage paid? What keeps groceries on your table? And groceries is a tough one because it's both mandatory and discretionary, because you can go to the store and get a bunch of discretionary items in your grocery cart. What is the actual need? And then go from there. This is what we have left in our margin to do the discretionary things that we want to do. So,
I think we're saying,
I don't think you've,
I think we're saying kind of a similar thing. We're not disagreeing.
Yeah, I'm just being nicer.
Harsh.
I'm being nicer.
You are.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
I'll have more friends than you will.
I'm okay with that. I got more free time now. But yeah, to your point, like that's it. You're just looking at it from an honest perspective, like just being honest about, rather than throwing up your hands and being like, well, we're just buying the same thing we bought last month and now it has to go on a credit card. It's not my fault. Well, yeah, that's true. And inflation's a thing, and maybe your income isn't keeping up, and all those things may be true. But at the end of the day, it's still you swiping the credit card, and it's you responsible for the bill. So rather than just being like, well, I just can't control any of this because it's outside my sphere of influence. Well, look at the stuff you can, which is all of your spending. Now, you can do this with some help, right? That's something, the other thing the article points to is like trying to find some help.
Yeah. So, what should you do if you are in this? Very appropriate, convenient, however you want to look at it, that we just had Lacey on. And we quite literally talked through all of these steps. Number one step is get help. If you and your spouse or you and your partner, however this relationship around money is working, if you can't come to some kind of compromise as to how you're going to make this work so that every single month you're not carrying over a credit card balance, get some help. There are people on base, the PFCs on base, who are sitting bored in an office, I'm sure somewhere, who would love to sit down with you and be a mediator and take the blame for everything that's going on in your financial picture, because that's what they're good for. And I say that in the best of ways, right? Sometimes you just need a third party, an uninterested party who is unemotionally attached to your finances to kind of tell you how it is. And that's a really powerful thing. So I love PFCs.
That's valuable not only to your finances, but to a lot of times to your marriage. If you've got, because if you have one spouse that's a spender and one's is a saver, we see this all the time. You can, I've had prospects where I can tell if they've got like a debt issue. I can just feel like I kind of understand where this is going. No one's throwing each other under the bus, but I can just kind of tell like, hey, they have a difference in opinion on what's appropriate for their debt level. So go to a PFC or get outside help, because that's the person, it just kind of, like you said, offloads. You can blame them sort of for just pointing out the black and white of like, hey, you owe this much, you got to pay it off. This is how you got to do it. You have to cut this from your spending. You have to sell a car. You have to do something. Like you have to come up with a plan to get out of the debt or manage it or readjust your spending going forward, or maybe everything, maybe all the above.
Yeah.
That reminds me, we bring up Stacking Benjamins. Maybe we should try to see if they want to be a sponsor.
Maybe we advertise for them.
Yeah, I don't know, but again, really good. But one of their characters on there, OG Josh, one of his things he says on all the time, and I'm sure he got this maybe from someone else, is that everything's on the table. So if you run into a problem where you've got this debt, it's growing, you can't get ahead of it, and credit card debt is growing, or you're getting in some sort of financial trouble over time, Just consider everything. So everything, and I mean like everything, mortgage, rent, car payments, the car you have, every single thing you're spending money on, put it all on the table. Because yeah, you might not have to sell your house and downsize to a new house. Okay, that's pretty dramatic, but you should consider it. Put it on the table and then just say, hey, okay, we can do it. We can find the solution somewhere else. Then, okay, we can take that off the table. You're good. Or find a different place to rent, or maybe sell one of your cars. Or if you've got a really expensive car, then maybe downgrade that or downsize that car, or whatever, to get a used car that's, with a more appropriate insurance and payment on it. Consider everything, because you just can't use the cost of everything as an excuse to ruin your life financially. So consider everything. Start with a thing that you can manage. And if it fixes the problem, great. If not, then elevate to the next thing. What do you have to do to get out of this hole?
Hey, one other thing that came up out of this article was that 25.3% interest rate. That didn't actually bother me. And there's a reason why it doesn't bother me. And I think it's the way that I look at credit cards in general and their usage is that they come with a purpose. That you're either you're kind of building credit or maintaining your credit, but there's ways to go about that are completely helpful to your situation. And there are ways to go about it that are unhelpful. And the unhelpful ways is rolling over debt month to month. And that's when the credit card interest rate matters. But if you pay off your credit card every single month, that interest rate could be 100%, 200%. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm paying off my interest rate, or I'm paying off my credit card every single month. I don't care.
Yeah, that's exactly right. First thing you do when you get a credit card is set it to pay off the entire balance every single month. Set that up. And then, of course, you have to track it closely. And if you do that, the interest rate doesn't matter.
All right, the last thing here is the emergency fund. And you think, well, what does the emergency fund have to do with credit and the fact that I'm building up additional, or I'm basically putting more on my credit card. I'm accumulating more debt each month. What does the emergency fund have to do with that? Well, frankly, I mean, Rob, I'm sure you've heard this, but when people have an emergency, where do they go if they don't have an emergency fund?
Where do they go, or where should they go?
Well, if they don't have an emergency fund.
Yeah. Credit card, right? Yeah. The credit card is usually, it's easy to reach for because it's so quick and it's painless because it's available. It's in your wallet. You've already got it. Yeah. If you need the new tires for the car, you don't have it in your emergency fund, you can put it on a credit card. That's what the value of an emergency fund in a checking account, like a high yield savings or maybe at a brokerage, tied to a money market, et cetera. Having that stable liquid emergency fund is there for this, to avoid using the credit card. Other things can act as a bonus emergency fund. That is a brokerage account. You can have, assets, invested in a brokerage account that can be used for general type of investing, any goal into the future, or an emergency fund, a backup emergency fund. We talked about HELOCs in the last couple episodes ago. That could be another option. The credit card, though, considering interest rates higher in excess of 20%, should be on the lower end of your priority list when it comes to satisfying emergency needs.
Rob, I've got to admit something to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
When we have an emergency, I use my credit card.
Okay.
Then I just pay it off with my emergency fund.
I knew it. I was like, there's no way you're admitting that on this show. And then there's no way. There's got to be a catch. Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, I use a credit card for everything. And then, of course, pay it off every month like we talked about. But that takes planning. It's what we're talking about. Just don't let the fact, inflation's scary, price inflation, costs for everything are going up. Don't let that scare you. Just embrace it and just plan for it. We can't afford steaks this month. It's pork chops instead of steak for our family dinners or whatever it might be. You have to make the call. You have to control it. It's on you to make sure that you don't fall into debt, and everything's on the table.
Yeah. And I would say and I do love that, putting everything on the table. Sometimes when you put everything on the table, it still is a math problem. Mm-hmm. You still have more expenses, like legitimate expenses, than you do income. And if that's the case, then what else is on the table is more work, a different job. I mean, it's probably not the right time to switch jobs, but like maybe another job, something like that. Yeah. And that is a hard situation to be in. I want to acknowledge that situation definitely exists, but at least putting everything on the table in the first place to recognize that you might need additional work, additional income, that's on the table too.
Yeah, that's a good point, because some of this is really painful, because when you put everything, it's everything. It could be kids' activities. Like maybe you got a kid that's in dance, that's expensive, or travel sports. Regardless of your opinion about that, if you have your kid involved and they're really, my kid's swimming is really expensive every year. You have to put it all on the table, because like you said, it helps you establish the priorities. It's like, is this important enough that now we're going to go into credit card debt to support it? Or is this important enough where I'm going to pick up an extra shift or overtime, or like you said, more income to try to support it? Because once you balance everything out at the end, it is a math problem, but your values can play a really important part in how you solve that math problem.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for talking about credit card debt here in America for at least this year anyway. Mm-hmm. We might wrap this back around next year and probably have a very similar conversation, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. So let's move over into gambling. Rob, at some point, sports betting went from just putting $20 on the table, or you having to go somewhere and put $20 on the table, to now you have this phone in your pocket. And one thing that really motivated me to put this episode together was the fact that we are now inundated by sports gambling ads. My precious red zone. This is what my wife and I do on Sunday afternoons, is we watch 7 hours of uninterrupted football, but now it's interrupted by sports betting apps. It drives me absolutely nuts. So that was why I decided, you know what, I think it's time, especially as we come up with the Super Bowl coming up just around the corner. We've got the Olympics starting. In fact, I think it starts this Friday.
Correct.
Right before the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So we've got the Olympics starting, so I can guarantee that there's going to be some betting there. We've got March Madness. Of course, everybody in their offices are going to be having their Sweet 16 bracket. So, I think that's the impetus into why we would put this episode together. But before we start, I thought we'd have a little bit of fun here, because you've put some bets together for this episode specifically. Yeah. So let's go. What'd you put together?
For the listeners, when Omen said, hey, we're going to do a betting episode, my mind immediately ran to okay, we're doing all the picks for all the, like he said, for the Super Bowl, the March Madness and everything coming up. Like, no better time. Let's do a pick show, like what our picks are. But you're right. It's ubiquitous now. It's everywhere. It's different. Everyone knew that gambling is generally a vice. It's no secret, and they still know that. But the world has changed. I think that's what we're going to talk about mostly in this episode. But yeah, you're right. We're going to start off with just having a little bit of fun. Disclaimer, we're not going to bet on this, right? This is just for pride and fun, right?
I have $10 in my pocket. Let's go.
Okay. Hey, fair enough. We can do that too. We're just going to have a little bit of fun with some picks. So ahead of time, in anticipation of the pick show that I thought we were doing, I did pull some opening lines for the Super Bowl coming up. I thought it might be fun to have a little picks on this, and we could, play for pride and see who ends up on top after that. So I've got basically 5. Well, one's is for each quarterback. So I have a few picks here with opening. Like I said, it might have shifted by now, by the time this episode comes out. So anyway, the opening line was Seahawks minus 4.5. Omen, what you got? Seahawks minus 4.5.
This is going to be a little bit embarrassing here, but you have to remind me, when you say minus 4.5, what does that actually mean?
Oh, okay. So
you don't gamble. So I honestly don't know what that actually means.
I don't. Well, you know what? I don't blame you. This is, of all of the weird kind of stuff in gambling, this is one of the easier ones. I'm not saying you should have known it, but it is easier to understand. But so basically what you do is you take the final score, and then you subtract 4.5 points from the Seahawks score. And then whoever the winner is after that is your pick. So if basically you're saying, if you take the Seahawks, that means at this point you think the Seahawks are going to win by 5 or more points.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, let me do that. I'll take the Seahawks.
Okay. And just to be spiteful, I'm going to take the opposite of everything you pick, because these lines are set to be either way. They're set for a certain reason that you think it's going to be one or the other, but that's what they're meant to. So it's kind of almost like a coin toss. So, okay, I'll take the Patriots plus 4.5. for the game result. Next is over under total points. So this is the total number of points the Seahawks and the Patriots score during the game combined. Is it going to be over or under 46.5?
I think we're in for a high scoring game, so I'm going to go with the over.
Okay. You got over. Over's more fun, by the way.
Yeah.
It is. With the under.
Yeah, I mean,
I like the over because you're like chasing it throughout the game. It's kind of exciting. Whereas the under, it's like you're kind of clinched. You start winning at the beginning. You're winning because it's 0. And then you're trying to like fight them scoring. It's no fun. But I'll take the under.
And who wants a low scoring Super Bowl anyway? Like, what was it? A couple of years ago, I watched the Super Bowl, or ironically, sitting in Vegas on a work trip, and it was like 3-0. Like the Super Bowl was 3-0 or something. It was so dumb. That was the most boring Super Bowl ever.
Well, I'm hoping for a boring one then, because I'll take the under just to be opposite.
Okay.
You got over 46.5. I got under 46.5. All right. The coin toss. This one's just 50-50. The opening coin toss for the game, heads or tails. What you got?
So when you said betting is easy, this is what I define as easy, right? Like, okay. So I will take heads.
All right. I will take tails. All right. The next we got quarterbacks over under passing touchdowns for the game. They're both 1.5. So you got Drake May over under 1.5 passing touchdowns, and the same for Sam Darnold over under 1.5 passing touchdowns.
I guess I'll go under on this one.
You're going under for both or for just Drake May?
For Drake May. I'll go under for Drake May. I'll go over for Sam Darnold.
Okay. I'll take over for Drake May and under for Sam Darnold. And last one's a lot of fun. This one is the popular prop bet that comes up, during the Super Bowl. There's a million little stupid bets you can do. This is one of them. The national anthem length. This is the most common silly bet. For this Super Bowl right now, it's set as 122 seconds. So 2 minutes, 2 seconds. Over under on national anthem length.
This is tough. I'm going to go. We had a conversation about this because the national anthem has to be in line with like the flyover. That's the biggest thing. Like you have to speed up or slow down the song based on when the Jets are coming in. So I'm going to go with under. I'm going to think that they're going to have to rush the song to make sure that they line it up for when the Jets fly over.
Okay. This is the one, I didn't have an opinion on any of this, but this is the one I wanted under. I'll take over, that's fine. But I want under because, not for the same reasoning, but I feel like a lot of more national anthems for popular games are going shorter because I think that's what people like. I think people like just the straight anthem, make it yours, but also don't like elongate it and make it ridiculous. So more artists are doing that. I think you're probably going to win that. But I actually have a funny story about the flyover with timing with the anthem. It's actually the opposite. It's not the anthem trying to match the flyover. The flyover actually, I've done this before.
They got to kick on the Jets.
Yeah, I've got a great story. I'll save it for off duty, but I have a really fun story. Cool. Yeah, that is this about that specifically that failed miserably. So stick around after the end of the show for off duty for a good story. Anyway, all right. We got our picks out of the way. That's our episode for the day, right? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
we're going to trivia
absolutely.
now. Yeah. All right, let's jump in. Let's talk about
we're going to Vegas.
Let's go to. Well, if we went to Vegas, that would make sense. But the problem is, we could just open our phone and do if we wanted to. We're having fun just talking about it right back and forth on the podcast. But if we wanted to, we could open our phone right now, download an app, and make these bets real if we wanted to, right?
When we first started coming up with this episode, and I started researching through, I have my own opinions on gambling. But the more I started to research on this, the angrier I got, because for me personally, I have spent countless hours working with people to try to get out of debt and to try to maximize their cash flow and to save and to be able to spend and to live their life now and live their life later. And gambling, as I continue to research, it just throws a wrench in that entire line of thinking, that entire financial security, all for this seemingly, I don't even know what you call it, but
unwinnable.
Because there's no guarantee.
Call it unwinnable.
Unwinnable.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is why there are so many nice buildings in Vegas, right? Is because so many people have funded that. And now we're doing it on our phones. And so we are funding a lot of other buildings as well. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, we're making people's lives miserable in the long term. In the short term, maybe it feels good, but in the long term, it can ruin lives. And so if you think I'm getting heated right now, like this is basically what I was like as I'm starting to read and research material for this show. Yeah, not a fan at all.
Yeah, it is a losing proposition. If you do it enough times over a certain amount of time, it's a losing proposition, almost guaranteed. If you do it, nationwide or worldwide, it is absolutely a losing proposition. Just look at the bets we just made. If we made a bet, if one of these were real, but we weren't doing it just you and me, like we had to go and take the opposite sides of the casino or use a sports book on our phone. Well, guess what's going to happen? If I win the bet, I'm not getting 100% of my investment back. Like if I bet $5, I'm not getting $5. I'm not winning $5. I'm winning $4.85 or whatever, because the house has to take their juice. They have to take the commission on the bet. But if you bet your $5, guess what? You lost. Do you lose $4.85? No, you lose the $5. Like that's where the house is, making their money, is on the difference between it. Set the lines right, take a commission off the winnings, and then take in all the losings from all the bettors that are taking these bets. So statistically speaking, it's a losing proposition. People get enticed. Like, you said, this time it's different. It's that line from Ocean's 11, the house always wins. You bet, long enough, the house always wins, but you bet big at the right time, then you take the house. Well, that's the hope for everyone who does this, especially people who do it irresponsibly or betting too much. It's that excitement that like, oh, I know, like I'm going to win this time. And that's when we get into trouble. Now, we're not here to slap hands necessarily. Okay, so we're coming in hard. This is how we feel about it. But the majority of this, what we're about to talk about, is more about facts. We're gonna talk about facts. We're just gonna put it out there plainly, right? Like I said, we're not here to slap hands. Maybe you are. I don't generally do this with my clients as far as like if they say they go to Atlantic City every 6 months and they have a budget for it. Like to me, that sounds responsible. And as long as they can afford it, it fits inside their discretionary spending. But I think the curious thing that maybe is to like look at it after they go. Like, okay, well, did you really spend that much? Like, let's look at the ATM receipts. Did you stay within your budget? That's my main concern. It sounds like you might have a little bit more stronger feelings about it.
Not necessarily, right? Okay. So when it comes to gambling, it's probably the same kind of attitude I have towards people who want to invest in crypto, for that matter, right? Like if you have a budget for that thing and that's not necessarily on the priority list for how we achieve your goals in life, but it's still important to you, then we make a budget for it. We say, okay, here's your $5,000. Here's your $10,000. This $10,000 isn't going to make or break your plan. Mm-hmm. So if you want to use that to go to the casino, or if you want to use that to purchase your crypto, or whatever the case is, go do that. And if you happen to make some money on it, great. Like that's awesome. Continue to use that money for, if you want to continue to gamble or buy crypto or whatever the case is. Like if you want to continue to do that, great. But if you lose all that money, then there's a speed bump called a financial advisor somewhere sitting in the middle of it that says, all right, you lost all that money. Now, if you decide you want to dip into your retirement plan to get more money to go gamble, now let's talk that through a little bit. But it's kind of in the name, Rob. Like we're advisors. I'm not going to slap your hand because you said you want to go and gamble away your savings. I'm going to have a conversation with you. I love how Carl Richards puts this because these are difficult conversations. And that he says, you might fire me if I tell you this, mm-hmm. but you better fire me if I don't tell you this. Yeah. And those are the conversations where it's like, all right, you might be getting across the line just a little bit here, and you actually might start to impact the goals that you told me were important to you. And so let's have a conversation around this first. And if it's like, okay, now we might have a gambling problem, here's some resources for you. I'm here to help. But ultimately, we got to work through that some way, somehow.
You said you're not slapping their hand if they go over budget. I would. Well, maybe you're nicer about it, or maybe you're more factual. Because what you said, you're like, if they decide to gamble away their savings, where you're going to talk about how it affects their plan. Yeah, but to me, that equates to a hand slap. I'm being very much like, hey, you budgeted $500 for this and you came out 800, or 900. We have two conversations. One, you went over budget. We either have a conversation, can you afford more if you really want to do it that way? Or the other conversation is, did you feel like you couldn't stay in budget? Because if someone wants to go and gamble and they do it like regularly throughout the year, maybe once a quarter, once every 6 months, whatever, it's part of their vacation, my antenna is going to be up. Like, okay, can they responsibly maintain this? And if they can, then okay. But it's always going to be there because it's like you are tempting fate. There's physical, like there's dopamine, there's genetics in play of addiction behavior and everything that comes with this. So let's dive in. We have a lot to talk about. I know I keep saying that, but we're just kind of getting our stuff out of the way. I will tell you, I am from the freedom side of things. I'm generally more of a libertarian where, the USA, we're free here to do what we want. But there's a great quote that I really, really love, most attributed to John Paul II. The quote is, freedom consists not in doing what we like, but in having the right to do what we ought. To me, that speaks to the fact, it's wonderful. Understanding your values, setting your goals, what we do as financial planners. And then if you do have these other discretionary things you would like to do, you ought to stay in budget with those things because you owe it to yourself to achieve your goals and go after what's important to you, like you said. So as a financial planner, we are a barrier. And Lacey Langford talked about this, that the new way that gambling is done, or the credit, for her it was credit, right? They were talking about gambling, it's the same thing. The new way it's done, it removes the barriers. Yes. So if our client's sitting at home and they have a gambling app on their phone, there's no barrier except Omen and Rob. If we're there, we have eyes on it or we see that there are transactions, we can act as a barrier. But outside of that, there's no barrier anymore. Yeah,
it's super dangerous. And when you talk about commanders and the fact that commanders used to be able to watch what their troops are doing, and I remember back in the day, there were certain establishments that were off limits, and the MPs would actually drive off base, drive by those establishments, peek their head in the door, and see if there's any Marines hanging out.
How did you know that?
And if there were,
how do you know that they did that?
How do you know if they're Marines?
No, how do you know? Did you see them coming in to check for you, or?
Oh, you could drive by the establishments and see the MPs. I know what you're getting at, Rob. I know what you're getting at.
So. Where did you hide? That's my next question.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But yeah, like now the Marines don't have to go off base. The soldiers don't have to go off base anymore and go to these shady establishments anymore. They can just do it right there in the privacy of the room. And so it's, for commanders out there who want to help their troops, and, I've heard so many good stories of commanders who will step in where they see one of their troops struggling in some form or fashion in life, like whether it's with a relationship, with their finances, whatever, with alcohol. They'll step in and, start to mentor them, like before they get in trouble, like before the NJP, they are mentoring them through this. It's a little harder to do if you can't see what's happening. So just a little reminder out there to maybe get a little bit more involved with your troops. But, as we start to kind of tear into this a little bit, gambling isn't new. It's been around for a long time. So what is it now? And I think we've already kind of alluded to this, but what is it, Rob, that we have that's changed?
From a military standpoint, say it's inside the gate now. Service members don't have to go to National Harbor to gamble anymore, right? Or wherever your local casino, the local Indian casino nearby, or whatever. You don't have to travel and go there to place these bets. Before the app, you either had to do that or actually do something else that felt maybe dirty or nefarious, which is finding a bookie that you trust, and that's even more dangerous, right? So there were these barriers that you had to go. You had to physically, like I said, you had to put your pants on and go do it. Now you don't have
what kind of casinos you're visiting, Rob?
Well, apparently the ones that require pants. That's the kind I visit. Yeah. But you have to get dressed. You have to go out the door. You have to go somewhere. You have to drive somewhere. You have to whatever. Now it's on your phone, and this is not limited to gambling. There's other vices, the matchmaking, whatever, hookup, etc. apps. That vice exist. It's right there on your phone. It's very easy to get to. I would even argue like Uber Eats and delivery, these are things of convenience. But again, anything that you enjoy that's made it easier, I should say this carefully, about putting your pants on. So, but anything that removes that barrier, it also, for lack of a better term, removes the shame from it. When we actually mentioned this with Lacey, like if I order Chipotle on Uber Eats, it comes to my door, like I can make that order whatever I want. All the guac in the world, because I'm not standing there face to face with them ordering this thing, right? It's the same thing with bedding, anything else. There is no implied shame. Like you don't have to go and do it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I think I've made that point like 3 or 4 times now, but that's what I think is most dangerous about it.
Yeah, I actually disagree with you on the fact that it removes the shame. I think the shame is still there. It's just private.
No, it should be.
Like
yeah.
You can just deal with it yourself. You can, well, I say you can deal with it. Most people can't actually deal with the fact that it's shameful. There's a lot of guilt that comes with that. I remember that somebody, I forgot who it was, but you can think about this however you want to think about this, but some of my commanders used to put people's weights up on the wall.
You were stealing my next point.
And
this is my next point.
Their PFT scores up on the wall.
Yeah.
And said public shame is the best motivator. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, if you're putting your stuff out there and you have a lot of peer pressure to do the right thing, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
That's the next point I was going to make, is some of the vices that people tend to fall into, the traps. One, you wear on your body, and that's either, gluttony or laziness or sloth or whatever. If you partake in these vices too much, it becomes quickly apparent to everybody that sees you that you're, maybe you have a problem with eating or not working out or whatever. In the military, fat shaming is still allowed. That bullying never went away. You could do that as much as you want. So, but it's very quick to spot the problem before it gets out of hand, because someone, regular weigh-ins, we know, hey, you've gained 5 pounds. What's going on? With this, especially when it comes to the fact you can go far into debt before it manifests in your living, like before you lose your apartment or your house or your car or whatever. You can actually go far into debt. It's not like a zero where you stops at zero where you lose everything and then it's quickly apparent to everyone. No, you could even go even further. Like you could get really in trouble with this, and without anyone knowing. Like people will see it on you. Maybe they notice maybe you're less happy, or maybe you seem depressed. But as far as a physical manifestation, there is none.
I think as we continue down this line of thinking, betting is not marketed as betting anymore. It's not marketed as gambling. It's marketed as a financial product called prediction markets. In fact, you referred to this. What did you say before about a prediction choice? What did you say? What did you call it when we were talking about our bets?
Oh, the prop bet.
Prop bets.
Yeah, proposition bet. Yeah,
prop bets.
A little bit different, but yeah,
proposition bet.
Yeah, a
little
bit different, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's in people's minds, they're like, well, I'm not really gambling here. Like this is a way to make a living. This is a way that I am using my investments to become wealthy and chase a number that I don't actually know what that number is, but it's making me wealthy. We talked about this on our predictions episode. It's funny, we're talking about a lot of predictions and gambling and all these things, but on our predictions episode, we mentioned, I think we both agreed actually, that one of the trends that we would see this year, the fads that we would see this year, is the increase in prediction markets on your phone. And Robinhood has already introduced that you can now make some kind of predictive bet on a contract on virtually any future event that is going to happen, to include Kelsey and Taylor Swift breaking up.
Yeah, I got it. That I've got like 1,000 on that one. Yeah, those are, I think Kalshi was the first one I heard of, which is like you can bet on anything. Or it says, I think the advertisement says trade on anything. To your point, they're just kind of reframing it, but it's betting. It's them, they're moving, it's the prediction market. They move the line in such a way, like for the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce breakup. I mean, that would probably be at, I don't know, 3%. Or something that they're going to break up, or it'd be very, very low. Well, you're going to get odds on that and they're going to pay out more or whatever. But still the same thing. You're just gambling on an outcome, and they move the line such a way where they can get even action on both sides. A lot of people betting on one side and, some other people betting on the underdog side and hoping to win big. But it's the same thing. Like, it's just an odds game that you're putting money on, and the payout reflects the odds that you're taking minus the house juice that they're always going to get. They're just going to make them money. Going back to my question or my point about how we don't wear these things physically, but there are signs. What are the signs, especially if you're a commander or you're in charge of service members? What are we looking for?
I don't think that this is as obvious as people think. Like, I don't think that you're going to walk outside one day and notice, like, hey, Sergeant so-and-so's car's just been taken away. What just happened? Like, it just got towed away. I have no, like, in the middle of the night. That's weird. But I do think that this is going to present itself in stress, and people deal with stress in a variety of different ways. But ultimately, what I would think is that people that have the best relationships with Sergeant so-and-so or Captain so-and-so would be the first ones to notice that something's wrong because their behavior changes. And I don't know how that behavior changes. However, stress presents itself within that person, whether they become depressed, whether they become combative, whether they start showing up late to work because they have other obligations that they now have to do. Like, I don't know how that necessarily presents itself, but there's little warning signs that I've learned over the years for the people that I have really good relationships with that, like, that's weird. Okay, let me just mentally jot that down. Oh, there's another weird thing. Oh, okay, let me jot that down. Okay, we're on 3 weird things right now. Hey, can we talk in a room privately real quick? And hey, I just noticed these couple things going on with you right now. Is there something you need help with? Like, is there something I can help you with? And just open yourself up to be an ear to hear. And at that point, maybe you can start to dig in a little bit about what is going on in their life. But like, I don't think that the signs necessarily are going to be completely obvious until it's really, really bad. Really bad. Because what do you do, Rob? I don't want to put you on the spot, but like, if things are like terrible in your life, what do you do? As long as humanly possible, what do you do?
I don't know I don't know where I know you're going with this.
You hide it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
you hide it.
Yeah.
Like, I hide it. Like, if things are going terrible if my business was going terrible, I would keep podcasting just like I'm doing right now. I'd have a smile on my face, but in my head, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm such a fraud. I'm such a fake. I can't do this. My business is dying. And, I'm just thinking all these things, and I'm trying to hide it as much as humanly possible because it's embarrassing. There's guilt, there's shame. And then one day it's going to crack. And Rob, you'd probably be the first one to know it, right? Because you and I have done this long enough now to know who I am. You know how I operate. And so you'd probably figure that out eventually, but by then it's probably too late. Like, we're doing some serious digging at this point to try to fill in the hole I just created myself.
Wait, how many warning signs do you have written down about me? Have we gotten to 3 yet? Yeah, that's all really beautifully said. I don't have much to add other than the fact I think it is hard to spot. This will manifest similar to like marital troubles, financial trouble, this type of thing. It's all those are all related too. If you have a gambling problem, you're going to have financial trouble. You probably have marital problems. It manifests as stress. So, I will share this. Like, one of my soldiers who I know did not like me at all. Like, he really did not care for me. And it's hard to believe, right? Like, who wouldn't like me? Yeah.
Slapping hands.
But I did notice he was slipping away a little bit. His mood and some of the things, what he was saying, it kind of concerned me for his sake. Like, it doesn't seem right. So, actually, I reached out to his buddies that were also my soldiers first. I said, hey, and ironically, like, they didn't care for me much either. but I was like, hey, listen, would you mind helping me out? Like, I just, concerned about this person. If I talk to them, they're not going to take it well. So would you mind just keeping an eye on them, or do you know what's going on? I just want to make sure I'm doing my due diligence as a leader. They're taken care of. That's from the outside looking in. So if you're a leader looking at your soldiers, what about you personally? So because if we gamble and we have a hard time with it, there's feelings and there's symptoms within that we should recognize in ourselves. I'll start with a story. Probably maybe 5 years ago, I was doing the in-game prop bets for the Super Bowl, just for fun. 50 cents here, 75 cents. I loaded the app with like $10. I was doing $1 here, 50 cents. Like next play's a pass, whatever. I didn't have a team in the game, so this was my way of kind of having some fun. And I was having a great time. I didn't care if I was losing and I was winning a few, like cool. There was one time that I realized there hadn't been an interception in a while, and the quarterback that had the ball was pressing a lot. They were taking some gambles. So I did a 50-cent bet on the next play was going to be an interception. And guess what? Boom, it hit. And he threw an interception. It was going to pay out like $14 or something. It was some crazy amount. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then I realized there was some glitch in the app that it didn't log the bet in time. I mean, I hit the button. It's just some software glitch.
Okay,
in the
Rob.
app.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. That's what they all say.
Wasn't my fault. And I was so upset. I was really pissed off that they took my 50 cents and they stole it, or they stole the $14 that they owed me. Like, it really quickly turned from a lot of fun to like, I felt harmed. Like I felt like, their justice had to be served for, I was like, okay, I was fine. I still am. I don't have this problem, thank God. But at that point, I'm like, okay, this is no longer fun. And I stopped.
I think it's important just to pull that thread a little bit about recognizing your own behavior around betting. Like, how do you handle it? Because if you want to have a budget for gambling and you can stick to that budget, that's great. Like, what are the attitudes that you would expect from somebody who can handle a budget for betting and that's it? Like, if they lose it, then they're good. They can walk away. Like, what are the attitudes you think would present to others when people are betting that are good with betting and can walk away?
Going back to that story, like I was laughing when I was losing. I was laughing when I was winning and losing. Like I was kind of having fun. Like that, to me, that was the sign of that I knew I could handle it and I wasn't going to spend any more. I was going to dump another 20 or 50 bucks into this thing. It was $10 and I'll lose it. Like no big deal. But the symptom changed when I lost a really screwy bet that, again, I felt like I had been personally, it was like a bad beat in a way. I don't know if you're familiar with that term in betting, but it's kind of like a bad beat where you almost feel like something happened to you. And that's kind of how I felt. So for a bad beat, just FYI, is let's say the over 4.5 points, the bet you took with the Seahawks, let's say they're up by 5. Okay. And they're backed up with, 30 seconds or 5 seconds or something. And Sam Darnold takes a knee to kill it or something, but ends up in the end zone and it's a safety.
Safety.
Yeah. That would be a bad beat because it goes from 5 to 3. They only end up winning by 3 or something. So then you would feel frustrated because that's a terrible way to lose. So I think that's what you need to recognize is how do people handle the winning and the losing, especially if it feels very unfair.
Yeah. You said something earlier, and we've heard this statement before, but when you hear somebody say, this time it's different,
Yeah.
The foremost dangerous words, this time it's different. That to me smells a little bit like an addiction. And the problem with, we've already stated that the phone itself is addictive. Like the phone has addictive behaviors on there to keep you engaged with notifications. The app is addictive itself in its own gamification of gambling. And, you can make this micro bet here and you can make this predictive bet here. But now, as I mentioned before with Red Zone, the bets are all around you. So even if you recognize you've got a problem with betting and you take all these actions to like, okay, I'm not going to gamble anymore. I'm taking all the apps off my phone. I'm going to lock things up. There's phones out there called, there's one called Wise Phone where it doesn't allow you to actually have apps like that on the phone itself. There's new iOSs as well. I think Brick Phone, is another iOS itself. You can get a dumb phone. You can get a flip phone. Like you can do things to prevent yourself from gambling, but it's still thrown at you through all of these ads on TV. And it's not like alcohol, right? You're going to see alcohol ads on TV as well, but you still have to go to the store.
Yeah.
You have to go to the store.
Yeah, let me run with that, because that was my next point. You're coming to my next thing. Omen, if you were an alcoholic and you realized, let's say one day you came to terms with the fact, okay, I have a problem with alcohol, what's one of the first things you would do in your house?
Yeah, you clear it out.
Clear it out, right? That's one of the main things you see. You got to dump everything down the drain. You have to throw it in the trash. It's gone. Because like you said, you have to go buy it. So in other words, to break your resolve to fight the alcoholism, you have to actually go and purchase it and show up, face someone, whatever. This is like doing that, having an alcohol problem and knowing it. And then all of a sudden one day you wake up and there's 50 liquor bottles, little tiny liquor bottles all over your house. That's just there, right? Can you avoid them? Can you not do it? Sure, technically, but it's different. It's everywhere. It's ubiquitous.
This is what I find so infuriating about this is it's not you leaving the liquor bottles all over the room. It's not you leaving the gambling ads all over the room.
Right.
It's the industry planting the bottles in the room for you. It's like you go and clean it up and throw it all out of the house. And next thing you know, you turn around and they're all back all over the table again. You're like, what? Like, how do people win?
I don't know.
Even when they win, they lose. Like there's no way.
Oh man, that's interesting. Even when they win, they lose. That's true, because they're still participating in the addictive behavior, right? Yeah. Like I enjoy red wine. I enjoy it most every night. Is there a problem to me enjoying I drink almost a glass a night of red wine. I love it. It's so great. But I clearly am doing it responsibly. So if I have a glass of red wine at night, not a problem. If an alcoholic has a glass of red wine one night, that's a huge problem. Like, even if you're doing it responsibly, if you have this problem, you're still going to lose. I like that. That's even when you win, you lose if you have a problem. This episode is brought to you by the Military Financial Advisors Association.
MFAA is a global network of independent, fee-only fiduciary financial advisors who specialize in serving military families.
And we're not just highlighting it. Omen and I are members ourselves, so we know firsthand what they stand for.
That's right. Every member of MFAA is either active duty, a veteran, or a military spouse, so they truly understand the unique financial challenges that come with military life.
Plus, every advisor must hold or be actively pursuing the CFP designation, which is the gold standard in financial planning.
So let's put that together. When you choose an advisor with MFAA, you are getting a professional who won't sell you a product, who knows the military life, and will plan using your hard-earned military benefits.
Whether you're navigating a step out of the military after 4 years, a military retirement, or a transition into a work-optional lifestyle, MFAA advisors speak your language.
Visit militaryfinancialadvisors.org to find an advisor who fits your mission.
MFAA, real advice, real experience.
This advertisement is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. All investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. Information and opinions provided within the Fiscal Foxhole do not necessarily reflect official positions or opinions of the Military Financial Advisors Association or its members. Consult a qualified financial professional before making any financial decisions.
So as we kind of walk down this path with gambling, and I use that almost intentionally, that we're wandering down this path into gambling, because I think it actually is wandering. How many stories have you heard? In fact, there's an article here that I can reference, we can put in the show notes, from Vanity Fair from this year, where a 5th grade teacher during COVID just thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. I'm just going to make a couple of bets. I'm a little bit bored right now. We're not teaching in classes. Like, I'm bored. 5 years later, his marriage is ruined because he has bet away his life savings. So as this teacher kind of wandered into this, it was made available to him because of apps, like because of the availability. I mentioned this is during COVID. Prior to 2019, when apps really weren't not only not available, but not really allowed either, right? Here's some interesting statistics. 1% of individuals who gamble report experiencing a serious gambling problem at some time in their lives, some kind of disorder, with an additional 2 to 3% having experienced somewhat less severe gambling problems. 45% of individuals have placed a bet on a sporting event at least once in their lives. This is pre-gambling apps, and this is according to the New York Council on Problem Gambling Research. So this is the best they've done. There's no actual research done on this since 1999. This is a whole nother issue that this is not being researched. But yeah, prior to 2019, those were the stats. Rob, let's fast forward to 2025. This report was put out by St. Bonaventure from Sierra College. It says that 22% of Americans, including 48% of men ages 18 to 49 years old, have an account with at least one online sports book. 48%.
Don't have to put your pants on.
Don't have to put your pants on.
Yeah.
And those are the people. Those are only the men who report.
Yeah.
That's half, almost half. But I'd argue it's more than that because that's only the people who report. 52% of those men have chased a bet in the hopes of making up some kind of loss or of increasing their winnings. 37% of those men have felt ashamed after losing. 20% have lost an amount that resulted in trouble meeting their financial obligations. The before and after betting apps is startling. Like, this should scare people.
Well, it should certainly warn them against this type of behavior and the way it manifests now versus the way it used to. Take that teacher, for example, that got in trouble and lost his marriage and probably ruined himself financially. That's funny. Is it a man? I'm just maybe just assuming.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
So the difference is, like, you go down, 1% actually would have to go. His wife would have to ask him where he was going, right? I mean, I assume like if he was like, I'm going to go start betting on sports, if the gambling app wasn't available or the sportsbook app wasn't available, he'd have to go to a casino, right? So the wife might at some point ask him like, oh, where are you going? You know, and then that there creates a little bit of a barrier. Probably could still get in trouble if he had a problem. But I heard another podcast I listened to. This is more of a cultural podcast than financial, but it was talking about this. There was some, 12, 13-year-old kid who actually ended up stealing his parents' social security numbers, his grandmother's social security numbers, and creating lines of credit, and ruined everyone's finances in his whole family because he got access on his phone. And this obviously not legal. He had to impersonate adults to do it, but just another layer of danger that exists with the availability of online gambling.
You know, even in that article, the teacher, he stated how he hid this from his wife, from his kids. Like, inside, he was dying. He knew everything that was going on, and he would put on a front for his wife and kids. And there's financial infidelity there as well. Like, if your spouse does not know what's going on, and then suddenly they find out, like, where's this other account? Like, what is this other account? What in the world? That creates trust issues, as it should. But again, as you mentioned, there was no real indicator because he put on the front and he tried to keep up this facade of a lifestyle for as long as he possibly could until he just couldn't anymore. And by then, damage done. There's literally nothing you could do.
Both of these cautionary tales, like I said, go far beyond the zero. Like, they're ruined. You're going way. You can hide this and be a problem. It can be really bad before it becomes evident. By the way, I didn't take you much for a Vanity Fair reader. That's mostly for the fashion?
Yeah, that's it.
That's right.
Of course. Because you remember back a couple episodes, I was talking to you about my closet,
there
right?
You go.
So,
yeah. You're just getting some local trends or recent trends, I should say. So, okay, well, let's bring this back to the military side of things. If you end up doing this, it can affect, we talked about the detriment, it can affect your family, it can affect your finances, and it can affect your life and your marriage, whatever. With the military, there's additional layers to this.
Security clearance. I mean, that's the big thing, right? Yeah. So why should the government trust you if you are in loads of debt and you are susceptible to blackmail? You're susceptible to, well, I guess that's it, right?
Yeah.
You're susceptible to blackmail. And so they're not going to trust you with the nation's secrets. And if you can't have a security clearance, can you be in the military?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple different jobs you can't do with military promotions. It's just it touches everything, right? Trust, marriage, family, your career, etc. Not just the military, any other career. If you're out there chasing bets and losing money, this can cause a problem for you in any career. We've beaten up gambling quite a bit, which I think all of it's completely deserved.
Yeah. Yeah, can you do it?
Can you do it?
Well, so I think we've touched on that, right? We have touched on that, is that there are people out there who can put aside a certain amount of money and be okay with losing it all. And that is probably key, is that if you put aside a set of money and you want to gamble, be okay with losing it all and walking away. Like if you are that kind of a person, which like that's not me, Rob, I don't know about you, but that is definitely not me. So that is a reason why I do not gamble, is because I don't think I'd be able to walk away. I don't trust myself to do that. So, but I think if you are that kind of a personality, then yeah.
That's the most important thing, I think, is not, you started that point with like, if you can stay within your budget, then great. I think that's a secondary level. I think what you first need to recognize is what you finished with and what type of person are you? I learned a long time ago, I'm very lucky. Of all of the vices I've ever tried, I've never grown addicted to anything. I've tried alcohol, smoked a few cigarettes in college. I almost said high school, now in college. I've tried these things. I don't have an addictive personality to anything. I don't know why that is, and I'm very, very fortunate. I've done prop betting. I've gone to casinos and played blackjack. It's a lot of fun. But I walked away and I didn't feel the urge to go back. Right? I don't have whatever the gene is. And I don't mean this to take responsibility away from you as like, oh, it's not your fault, it's your genetics. But let me put it this way. While we do know it's genetic, the addictive personalities, there were 1 billion people that probably lived on this planet that were alcoholics genetically, but never had a drop of alcohol. Right? You just have to know that, you know, if that's the personality, like you said, I know I could do the Super Bowl. I could download, I think I use Caesars or whatever, but I shouldn't mention it, but I could open it back up, find my password. I haven't used it forever. And I could probably do it for the Super Bowl. I'd be totally fine. Walk away, bet $10 during the game and it not be a problem. You have to know who you are.
Yeah. And if you don't, maybe don't risk it.
Abstinence works.
Like, yeah. Again, this is one of those things where you could wander into this and wander into a lot of trouble. Yeah. And if you do have an addictive personality, maybe get addicted to something else, like, I don't know, running marathons or something. So they are quite addictive. I don't know why.
Get addicted to something good. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't want this to be a fear-based episode, because that's not really who we are, as fear mongering or anything else.
I think
like
we're
that.
doing it factually, though. I don't think
this is such a danger.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I get what you're saying, that the fear-based. I think we're being accurate is what we're doing. That's good. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, so I thought we'd end the episode with some goodness, right? Some directions that we can give to people if they need help, right? So if you are addicted to gambling, the very first thing is, let's pull some lines out from our recent episode with Lacey, is go tell somebody. Just show up. Like, get through the door and talk to somebody. Talk to your sergeant, your captain, whoever it is. Talk to them. They're not going to rip your head off. They're going to give you the help you need. And if you're scared, that's normal. I'd be scared too if I had a problem and I have to go tell somebody that I am not perfect. Rob, believe this. My wife does tell me this all the time. You're so perfect.
Whenever
when
this
day comes,
that you find out something, you're not perfect. I don't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a scary thing. And I've had situations in my own life that I was not courageous enough to admit when I was wrong and that I needed help with something. I will admit that right here to you. It is a scary thing. I've also had situations where I learned from that and realized if I were to go get help earlier, I'd be okay. I'd be in a really good spot, and people are there to help. So go get help and do it scared. There's a couple of other places that people can go get help. The National Council for Help with Gambling, they've got online resources where you can reach out to counselors, as well as Military One Source. There's free counseling offered there. And these are people just to talk to. They don't know who you are. You can call them, you can get online with them, you can chat with them, and they can get you headed in the right direction. TRICARE, your military health facility, they can help you as well. Like, you can go talk to your doctor about this. That's also okay. Rob, any other resources?
Yeah, Chaplain. Start with a chaplain. Maybe go. They can help you out. Your commander can help you out. If you're scared to go there, like I said, to the commander, go to the chaplain, and find somewhere that might have some discretion that you're seeking, that it doesn't provide any further shame on you, that you're trying to get ahead of it. I'll add one more. Do it in front of someone you trust. Like if you have a spouse, like even if it's a $10, you're due $10 prop bets during the Super Bowl. Do it in front of your spouse and tell them what you're doing. It's like, oh, I'm going to do 50 cents on the next running play. Oh, I'm going to do $1 that the next one is goes over 10 yards or whatever. Like, just do it in front of somebody so you have some, like, it's not all a secret. And then, maybe don't do it with someone that has a problem. It's just going to be, that's called enabling. Just do it with someone.
Don't do it with my wife. Yeah, because we'd be in a competition like, no, I'm going to bet more. No, you're going to bet more.
Just do it with someone you trust and share it with them, or a buddy, and just say, hey, I want you to hold me accountable here. I just want to, I'm just going to do it for $20. Please hold me to it and let me stick to it. But and then just be aware of the danger. If you start to feel itchy when you lose, you start to feel angry, if you start to feel like you've been, some unjust action's been taken against you, if you start to feel those things, like just recognize what they are. And also the next day, if you're like, oh, hey, let me find a new sports thing to bet on, that's also a problem. So just be aware, do it with someone you trust.
I'm going to mention one more thing just because it's extreme, and I like extreme in some cases. A sports fast.
Yeah, that sounds lame.
A sports fast.
No, thanks. No, go ahead. Make your point.
Yeah. So the point here is that let me rewind back to who's leaving the bottles all over the room.
Yeah.
If it really is that much of a problem, and the real problem is that it's not just on your phone. If you could go brick your phone, you could go get a flip phone, but guess what else you can do? You can just turn around and hop on your laptop and do the same thing. So if it's really a problem, then why surround yourself with the very thing that's giving out the bottles? Sometimes it just takes a break. Like sometimes a fast is just what you need to get it out of sight, out of mind long enough so that you can reset and get yourself into some good habits so that when those ads come up on TV, when the bottles get left all over the room, you're like, no, I'm good. No, thanks.
Yeah, maybe a fast would also help you understand if you are addicted. Maybe you don't realize you are. Maybe you're doing it responsibly. You're doing it within the parameters that you laid out. Maybe take a fast and just see, like, can you take a week off or 2 weeks or whatever it is?
Yeah.
See how you feel. If you're good, then yeah, you're fine. If you don't feel like, oh yeah, I can do without it, but I still want to do it because it's fun. If you can take a break responsibly, that's probably a good sign.
Rob, let's end it there. We have beat up gambling to death. I don't know if any listeners are either one, listening, or two, ever going to gamble again. But I think that we have covered this in depth. So let's move on to our trivia. If you haven't joined us in a while, we have changed things up a little bit. You have no idea unless you've been listening to all the episodes so far. So if you haven't, you need to go back and listen to all the episodes of this year to know how many trivia questions I've gotten right and how many trivia questions Rob has gotten wrong. And so,
touche.
Yes. So this is the time of our show where now we ask each other some ridiculous trivia questions that nobody actually knows the answers to, and it's our best guess. Today, Rob is up to bat in terms of asking me the question. So Rob, what do you got?
I'm really excited to bring this to you today because I got this question prepared ahead of time, but I didn't know that you weren't as savvy with how, betting over under and betting lines work until we started talking. Yeah. So for the listeners, I kind of had to explain how the prop bets went, like the over under and a couple of things. He's like, how does that work? And so this is good. This is kind of related to that as well, because with the Super Bowl usually becomes like some really silly proposition bets that you can bet on almost anything. Like you said, the national anthem, you can bet on that. The coin toss, you can bet on it. So your trivia question today relates to those proposition bets. So to you, your question for this week, Omen, is which of the following Super Bowl prop bets has actually been offered at sports books or prediction markets? These are the different prop bets. Is it A, whether the winning coach will mention God, family, or the city first in the post-game interview. B, whether the final play of the game will be shown again before the Lombardi Trophy is presented. C, whether any commercial will accidentally leak online before it airs on TV. And D, whether the first song played after kickoff will be rock, pop, or hip hop.
And this is actually really tough because I think any one of these could be legitimate bets.
Yep.
Any one of them. So the question is, which one wasn't?
No, actually been offered. Now, I don't know, maybe this was like data from 2 years ago, so maybe it's been offered since, or maybe it's being currently offered. So, that's my disclaimer. But as of the time that, this is referencing, only one of those had been offered.
Yeah. So as you were reading through these, I actually thought that A might not be it, because when they interview the coach never talks about that in the first place. Like, what was it? God?
Whether they're going to mention family, God, or the city first. So what they first mention, or maybe of the three, what they mentioned first.
Okay, so that one I was questioning. And then C, what was the answer for C again?
C was whether any commercial will accidentally leak online before it airs on TV.
I guarantee that's a bet. Okay. I think I'm going to have to go with A on this one.
You got to be kidding me.
No, I'm going to go with A.
You're right. Holy cow. You are on a roll, man. Holy cow.
Yes.
Well done. That is correct. Yeah, that was a proposition bet. Books, a little history. Books have offered post-game interview props that break down exact phrasing by the winning coach. So there were some caveats. So they've debated, like, does first and foremost count, or like thank the Lord, qualified before my guys, et cetera, for the team. So just interesting. There are obviously some parameters to define it, but you're right. There has been proposition bets about God, family, or the city being mentioned first in the winning coach's interview. Well done.
I need to start making some room on my shelf for the next trophy.
Hey man, it's a long year.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up. Rob, appreciate your quiz question there. And that was a good question. That was, I actually struggled to even remember the answers that you were giving out. So that was a really good question. I appreciate that. That's going to wrap it up for today's episode of the Fiscal Foxhole. We hope, as always, that you've taken something away that you can use in your life. And I know that this was a much harder episode. It was hard to record too. So that's ultimately what we're trying to do here. Is we're here to help. We appreciate you hanging out in the financial trenches with us. And if you like our show, we'd love it if you would write a review for us. Better yet, share it with a friend. So with that, Rob, take us away. What do we got?
First practical takeaway from today is when Omen is faced with a question or regards of information he doesn't understand, he's most likely to pick the first answer, aka question A, when he can't remember the rest of the question options.
Easy.
Second takeaway, if most of your credit card debt is labeled essentials, that's usually a visibility problem, not a life is unaffordable problem. Until everything is on the table and someone outside the hole helps you sort behavior and math, debt will keep feeling inevitable. Next takeaway, sports betting didn't get worse, the friction disappeared. What used to be a $20 bet with real-world barriers is now an instant, private, and always-on proposition. And our final takeaway, if gambling is affecting your mood, your money, or your relationships, it's not just for fun anymore. And that's your sign to stop and get help.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have questions you'd like answered on the show, please send us a note to fiscalfoxhole@gmail.com. If you heard something today that you'd like to discuss further, or you just want to dig deeper into your own financial game plan, both Rob and Omen are accepting new clients and always happy to chat. You'll find the links to their websites or to book appointments in the show notes. Rob Moore and Omen Quelvog are both registered investment advisor representatives. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. While they are both advisors, they are not your advisors. Therefore, nothing you hear on Fiscal Foxhole should be taken as specific investment, legal, or tax advice. For guidance tailored to your situation, please consult a qualified professional who understands your individual circumstances.
When we talked about the national anthem length, and you said that the timing has to be precise. I've had experience with that, and I can tell you from someone who's done that with multiple marching bands in college, et cetera, it's actually, they have it down to like 30 seconds or so. I remember we did this in my undergrad. I was the liaison for the National Guard in Michigan. So they had these jets that were hovering over Flint. And that week prior to that home game, we had guys with us that had stopwatches, and they heard us play the anthem, and they backtracked like 40 seconds or something. And so they knew the exact spot in the anthem to call the jets that were holding in a very short period of time. And then they would head towards, Spartan Stadium and fly over at the last note. And it worked really effectively. I have a really funny story. It was, unfortunately, it was the POW MIA day at the Pentagon. They hold a ceremony there each fall. So we were supporting that ceremony. And at the very end, the band, we pull up to the front center. So we're the only thing left on the field. All the troops and the flags have marched off. And I'm standing in the front, and in front of me is Secretary of Defense and usually some other dignitaries on the reviewing stand. So we're just looking at each other, right? Well, there's this flyover that happens at the end of the Armed Services medley. So we're playing the Armed Services. We're playing all the different songs of the Armed Services at each one. And the same thing has happened where there's somebody with a walkie-talkie. They're like, hey, send them now. They're at this point in the song. And, then they fly over at the end. So we're in preparations for this to happen. And I'm talking to the liaisons, military liaisons from MDW, to whoever is going to be flying the jets or the helicopters. And they say, how long is the service medley? And I'm like, okay, hold on. And I pull it up. I got a metronome. I'm singing it in real time with the metronome. And I come up with, a minute 40 seconds or whatever it is. Like, I don't remember exactly how much, but I had an exact like minute 43 or whatever. And so I turned to them like, hey, here it is. It's this time exactly. And there's one, junior officer. They were like, no, I'm pretty sure it's 5 minutes. I was like, no, I just did it myself with the metronome, the exact tempo we do it and the exact like length of it. I'm almost certain it's a minute 43. And they go, no, I'm pretty sure it's like 5 minutes. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm giving you the information. Yeah, they're like, okay, we got it. Yeah, we got it. I'm like, okay. And what else am I going to do? Like, I was like, I gave them the information they wanted. So, of course, we get to the ceremony and we do everything. We end up front and center. We start the service medley. And we stand there. We play the whole thing and it ends. And then we're standing there and I'm looking at the Secretary of Defense, looking at the dignitaries. Everyone's standing dead silence. There's no announcement. There's nothing. We're just waiting there, just standing there, looking at each other.
So awkward.
Oh, it was the most.
Meanwhile, you could have done it. You could have done it like 2 more times.
Probably could have. It was the most satisfying, awkward I've ever felt in my entire life. Like it took me everything to not smile out of satisfaction. Like, this is exactly what I knew was going to happen. So we waited there about 2.5 minutes before the head of the ceremony gave us the like, hey, let's roll, let's go, keep going. So like, okay, we'll play our departure music. So we start playing. 30 seconds into the departure music,
the jets.
Here they come. So needless to say, that was the most fun after action review that I had ever participated in. When I couldn't wait to get in that circle and talk to the officers. My tail was wagging. I was like, 5 minutes, huh? How'd that work out? So yeah, there's a little inside baseball. It's a lot of fun to do that and work with those folks. Really, really interesting to see how that times out. But it's really cool how it works out.
Yeah, we at Auburn, we had our MOI there was a pilot, and he ended up retiring, and he just stayed there, and he worked. That was one of his duties, was he was on the radio calling it. And that's the thing, like, it's training for pilots too, because when they do close air support, they have to be exact. Mm-hmm. And so when they know what time they're supposed to be, like time on target, as I put my air quotes that nobody can see, like time on target, that's important. So yeah, I understand the timing of that has to be so exact. So yeah, just a lesson to junior officers: be sure you're listening. Be sure you're listening.
Oh, I'm sure they were definitely right on the exactly when they were told to get there. I'm sure that's when they arrived. It
Oh,
was
yeah.
not their fault. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard though when we participate. We've done a bunch of those, and I'm participating in marching bands. So we do that too. I tell you, you know how hard it is not to look up and watch those things fly over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, you know, when I was at Michigan State, you know, there were the fighter jets, the local Air National Guard, et cetera, fly over. But I watch some of them now. The bigger bulls will have the B-2 or the F-117s. Oh my God. Like I can't imagine what that feels like watching those fly over. I've never seen one, you know, and I've never been in a sport event where a B-2 flew over, but I can't imagine. On TV, it looks awesome. Like I'm sitting at the couch, just like fist pumping the whole time watching that happen. That must be so cool.
Now that you're almost retired, now that you're almost retired, you can actually go. But here's the problem is once you retire, and if you're anything like me, like I still have a problem with going to a stadium, standing for the national anthem, and not doing it at attention. Like I'm just going to be at attention with my right hand over my heart because that's the way that the regulation states. And I'm not going to look at anything other than the flag, even for a flyover. And here I am with my beard and everything, and I'm retired, and I can actually look at the flyover, yet I still... I know, it's so hard. It's so difficult to just break 25 years of discipline.
Yeah.
So, and institutionalization. So anyway.
Well, I'll tell you what, back to kind of, we talked about last time, I do believe being reverent towards the flag, you know, and the anthem is enough. I really do. So I think standing in solidarity, hand over the heart, et cetera. I'm not one of those that thinks like singing along is mandatory because it's really hard to do. So, in the flyover, that's for you, man. That's for the fans. Like I believe as long as you're standing and out of solidarity and respect, then hey man, watch the flyover. That's what it's for.